Hello, everybody. Glad everybody's here. Thank you for coming. And tonight's program is on the mind-boggling world of AI. Hosting this program will be Bob Hong, who is an innovation leader and technology strategist. He will review the latest development of AI and share with us his expertise in unlocking the full potential of AI tools for use in everyday life. Bob Hong helps organizations transform the way they build and deliver software. As the cloud platform architect at Rockwell Automation, he creates solutions that help teams work faster, more securely, and more efficiently in the digital age. Bob works remotely and lives in Williamston while preparing for an upcoming move to northern Michigan. He enjoys reading, learning, tinkering, and spending time with his wife, Melissa, dog Sonny, and family, including 3 children and 3 grandkids. Away from the tech world, you'll find Bob hiking, biking, kayaking, cross-country skiing, and listening to his vinyl record collection. And members Roger Dornberger and Allan Worrell will also be sharing their personal experience in using the AI tool. So now I turn over to Bob.
All right, thank you. So just make a couple adjustments here. Okay, excellent. So thank you everybody for joining today. It's exciting to be here, and hope we can have a lot of fun and learn a few things and get people inspired about AI. Just introductory slide. My dad kind of mentioned it. I work for Rockwell Automation. Been working in software for a number of years, and we'll leave it at that. But yeah, happy to be here. To get things started, I decided to ask AI to help me with my opening here. You know, traditionally a lot of presentations start off with a little joke here. So I gave the AI, a number of different AIs, the question, you know, can you write me a good joke for a group of atheists and humanists? So the winner was Gemini. Gemini came back, and his joke, my joke, was, why did the AI cross the road? And the answer was, it calculated the probabilities and determined that crossing offered the highest likelihood of achieving its objective. Also, it heard there were no gods on the other side, so it figured it would fit right in. That is Google Gemini from yesterday. So it's pretty entertaining and fun that AIs can write jokes for you. And we'll get kicked off here. So a brief history of AI. You know, AI was a concept that started in the early 50s and throughout the 70s. There were a lot of great aspirations, and that kind of set the stage for this idea that computers could achieve some kind of intelligence. And you know, I think in the early days, the technology just wasn't there. You know, there were experiments, and there were lots of limitations in the computational power, and so you know, while they may have some interesting experiments, and you may have heard of Eliza, which was one of the first chatbots, something that you would type to and get a response, and some people actually thought that they were interacting with a person, but it was really a computer responding to them. And so, you know, with this, there were advancements made in the 80s and 90s. There were things called expert systems, which, you know, began to try to simulate how the brain works. And again, limitations with how successful they could be, but they worked in certain limited contexts. But really in the last few years, the 2000s and 2020s, you began to have the explosion of something called machine learning and deep learning. And a lot of this was enabled by the creation of massively parallel processors, computational power that's just expanded exponentially. And so then, you know, starting from here going forward, it's only gonna continue further and further in advancement. And a lot of the things that you know, we're experiencing now actually seem like they may be thinking and reasoning. It's not the case, you know, that we're not there to sentience yet, but it does. AI in its current state can do an awfully good job at kind of emulating the thought process and making the appearance that it's thinking and responding, you know, by making conscious thought. We'll see what happens. But at this point, I know Allan, who has offered to give his thoughts and tell us a bit more about the history of AI. And I think maybe I will turn it over to you, Allan, if you're prepared.
Hi, everybody. I'm down in South Carolina, and I have been to the Pledge before. It's been a little while. So I've attended a few of your meetings, and I know several of you, but probably not all of you. And I would just say that I was a software engineer at one time and a support engineer. I'm now retired, but I worked a lot in telecommunications, and I've always had a great love of computers and technology. But I am not by any means an expert in artificial intelligence, but I'm happy to share with you what I know and what I think I know, and I'll tell you what I don't know as well. Which is, by the way, that's something that I have yet to hear AI tell me that it does not know, or I never get an I don't know out of AI. Have you ever had it say that, Bob?
Actually, yes, I have had AI tell me that it doesn't know. But it's very possible, and you probably get to this a little bit further in your talk. But
right,
we just wanted to mention that AI is definitely not perfect.
Okay,
it can make up facts, and those are known as hallucinations.
Right,
so,
right. Very good. So we will see that again and again and again. We will see the limitations of AI. But I want to start with just a little bit of history. And okay. I don't know why I can't forward my my screens. It's not going up, Bob. Here. Not doing it? No.
Okay, you may need to choose the tab that has your presentation on.
How's that? There we go. Yeah, I can see it now. Okay. All right, very good. A little bit of history, and as usual, great minds think alike. So I'll just briefly touch on what Bob was saying before, that during the 1980s, we had expert systems which were based on rules. And just give you two examples of that. They created a system called MySyn, which could do limited medical diagnosis. So it would actually help doctors figure out what disease you had. And one thing that I remember about it is that it was capable of detecting when a person had multiple diseases, because one of the problems with doctors is that they typically are looking for symptoms that are for one disease, but they were not particularly good at detecting for what would happen if you had a patient that had more than one disease, more than one problem. So mycin was a big help in that respect. This other one was called Dendril, which could read mass spectrometer data and help physicists determine what the material was that they were analyzing. We really only had artificial intelligence since ChatGPT was launched back on November 30th of 2022. So it's been a little more than 2 years. And the rate at which AI is accelerating and the capabilities of it are growing weekly and monthly. It's amazing. And there are quite literally thousands of implementations of what are called large language models like ChatGPT. And I'm going to show you some of the ones which are available to all of us. But of course, we have countries and companies and universities all over the world that are working on AI systems and trying to develop the next greatest thing. And the current systems are based on a software implementation of a neural network. So in some sense, it's modeled after your own brain. But I would say it does not have the structure of your brain, but it is a collection of software neurons or simulations of neurons, neural networks. And like Bob said, it's not conscious yet. I also wanted to mention there's a guy on YouTube named Dr. Allan Thompson who has a PhD in artificial intelligence. And I've listened to many of his YouTube videos, and the guy is fantastic. If you want to find out what the latest and greatest, the most current state of AI is, he's a good person to listen to. And also, for those of you who may not know, there was an AI researcher named Alan Turing who invented what was called the Turing test. And this was the idea or the simulation that a person was allowed to type any kind of question or throw any kind of a text message on a terminal and get a response back. And then the test was to determine whether or not they were talking to a machine or a real life human being on the other end. Well, I believe at least, and many people believe, that we have now passed that Turing test. So I'm here to tell you that the current ChatGPT and so forth, they are so good that you might think that it is conscious, but in fact, it's not. Okay, it's not just a computer program, but it is an implementation of intelligence. Okay, so now, well, we really have three different kinds of AI. The first is what is called narrow AI, and this is artificial intelligence that's good at one particular task, and I've listed a few of them here. One of them was optical character recognition, so you could actually write, like for instance, the numbers 0 through 9, and it could read those. Like there are systems that actually read your license plate out on the highway. And of course, we all know that there have been really sophisticated computer systems which have got very good at playing chess and checkers. And most recently, the game called Go, which is I believe it's a Korean game, and but it beat the world's master Go champion, best out of 7, I think. So like those other ones, it can do medical diagnosis, and most recently can do things like reading mammograms and actually do it better, as good as or better than any a human doctor that can read mammograms and look for cancer cells. I know, in fact, that up in Charlotte, north of me, there have actually implemented a system that's doing that. And finally, we have we're going to have self-driving cars. We do, in fact, in San Francisco, and I think in Phoenix, and maybe somewhere else. We've got Waymo, which is a self-driving car, and Tesla is about to launch a self-driving car in Austin, Texas, starting in June, if they don't delay their target date. Okay, so that's narrow AI. So then the next step up of that, next big step up, I might mention, is what's called artificial general intelligence. And this is an AI system that can do almost anything that a human can do. Now, we're not there yet, but this is like pie in the sky. It's the ultimate goal that most people are working for. They're trying to achieve it. And so it's the ongoing race between companies and governments. Companies like Tesla, Meta, Apple, Amazon, all of the Magnificent Seven that you may have heard these companies called the Magnificent Seven, and they all have the resources to devote hundreds of billions of dollars into data centers to develop these enormous systems that can run the latest implementations of AI. And then finally, there's something called artificial superintelligence. It's thought that once artificial general intelligence has been achieved, that the AI might actually be able to develop its own goals and then could possibly surpass us in intelligence. And it's on an exponential curve. So here I listed, it's believed that most PhDs are thought to have an IQ of 130 or better. And then Einstein was, I don't think he ever had an IQ test, but most people put his IQ at about 160. But the current IQs, the AI IQs, have been measured at 180 plus. So I just posed the question, what will happen, just for us to think about, what will happen if super artificial intelligence achieves an untestable IQ? So anything from 200 to 1,000 or more. You know, it's mind-boggling how smart these machines may become. And it's amazing to think about, and also amazing to hope that they will treat us with respect, and that these machines will even care about what happens to humanity. All right, but for right now, we are just dealing with textual AIs. This is what was introduced by ChatGPT. And so we have large language models like ChatGPT, and the current CEO of OpenAI, which developed that chat, is named Sam Altman. And then I've listed here a number of other textual large language models. We have OpenAI. You've got Google Alphabet that's called Gemini. And I think, Bob, your joke was generated by Gemini. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And then we have Meta, which is Meta calls their large language model, they call it Llama. And so it's LLAMA, Llama, and Llama 3 is the current version. Microsoft has something called Copilot that I think is incorporated into the latest versions of Windows. And I have Windows 7 running on my laptop and have seen Copilot available to me. I've not used it yet, but at least as far as I know. Tesla AI is called Grok, and they just recently got that running. It's up to, I think, Grok level 4, and is said to be really, really great. Then you have Apple AI, which is Apple Intelligence. Amazon, the AWS is Amazon Web Services. They have Alexa AI. There's also something called Claude 3. They're running a system, their company's called Anthropic, which was started by 3 engineers who left OpenAI. And then Perplexity, that's another one, and that I think Bob's had a lot of experience with. Is that right, Bob?
Yep, that's one of the tools that's in my rotation.
Okay, good. Now, what do you mean by your rotation? What is your rotation?
I've been experimenting with almost all of these tools. So.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, we'll be delighted to hear more about that. And then finally, generative AI. This is the idea that something that for many, many years, people said, okay, well, AIs can be real smart and they can deliver answers to you, but they will never be creative. They will never be able to paint a picture. They will never to be able to compose a symphony. They will never be able to blah, 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 blah. What they can't do, they can't be creative. Well, I'm here to tell you folks, they can be creative, then they are creative, and they're absolutely amazing. So how can they be creative and how can they help you be creative? They can write stories, they can edit documents, they can help you write emails, they can generate ideas for you. They can write software. Okay, they're systems that are really good at computer languages like Python. They can summarize a document. They can draw pictures, doing text to art. So you can give it a text prompt, and it can create an image for you or a painting. It can make new videos, and this is one of my dreams. Is that ultimately we should in the next, I don't know, 5 or 10 years, be able to submit a script to an AI and say, make me a movie and use this script. I mean, that's my dream. Okay. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a little bit. Create new music. Okay. And again, as we want to say over and over again, these systems, they can solve complex problems and they even know how to reason now, but they are not yet conscious, even though you might think that they are. Okay, finally, these systems are not without their problems. So like, for instance, I know if you publish a book on Amazon.com and they ask you, did you use AI to help you write this book or this product? And so the whole idea of copyrights comes into play. And do you have to pay a royalty to the company or whose AI that you used? And then ultimately, I know that there's a current lawsuit. I don't know the state of it, but a lot of publishers and authors have sued these various companies that say, hey, you used our products to train your AI systems, and we're entitled to a royalty. So that if they are writing in my style of writing, then I'm owed something for that. So it opens up a whole big bag of worms. And finally, there's something called deep fakes, and it's mind-boggling because there are AI systems today. All you have to do is give it one single image of one photograph, and from that photograph, it can generate an entire person that in 3 dimensions on the screen that's able to say anything you want it to say. So we have already, I think, election interference in elections all over the world. And that it's mind-boggling, the potential abuse of these systems. And I stated there, could it start World War III? And I think it could. Finally, and Bob already mentioned this, that the systems, when they don't know, sometimes they say they won't say that they don't know. They'll just make up crap. And I heard of one instance where this person was concerned that they wanted the full truth. And so they asked AI a question, and they said, please show me your references, thinking that if it showed references, then they could check it out and make sure that what it was saying was really real. And it turned out it made up the references too. It made up the titles of books. It made up the publisher. It made up the page numbers. It made up the authors' names. Everything about it was fake. Everything, including the references. Okay. So, Bob, you want me to stop there and show the pictures that I got later
Yeah. Let's put those on
on hold?
for now.
Okay.
And I'll reshare the screen and we can move along. And thanks a lot. Okay, great. So now we're resharing, and we talked a little bit about history. And thanks again, Al. So the next thing that we're gonna start looking at is AI in the news. So you can't turn on the news without hearing AI. I don't know, you count the number of times, per day you hear AI mentioned, and I'm sure it's probably going to be exhausting your fingers. Hello. I'm not sure if this one's working. I'll just try to enunciate. So just I grabbed a bunch of headlines. These are generated from AI, and I asked actually, what are some of the most common ways that AI will impact people in the next year? And so, here we see, as Al mentioned, AI deepfakes threaten elections and truth. We see, hey, AI enhanced manufacturing is boosting productivity. Well, that's great. AI's role in climate change mitigation gains traction. That's great. But the flip side of that is that in order to train AI models and to run AI takes an enormous amount of energy. And I don't remember the exact percentages, but it's significant, that the massive data centers that are needed to power AI. And so that's why it's important to actually use AI to help us solve some of the energy problems, and there's companies that are investing in different forms of energy research, aside from, the sustainable solar and wind, but also nuclear and just exploring other options. So the great hope is that AI can actually help solve some of the sustainability problems and allow us to decouple ourselves from fossil fuels and all those things that are helping to destroy the earth. So there's no doubt going to be changes, from this point forward. And I think at this point, Roger wanted to have some words. And so, Roger, if you'd like to come up and share, this would be a great time.
This talk is called Computer Wake-Ups. This is a brief talk about recent reports that I call computer wake-ups. For 60 years, I've been a computer programmer, also known as a coder. My job was to design, write, and run programs in various computer languages. In my case, the outputs of these programs were needed for scientific projects. A few weeks ago, I found out that my occupation will soon be taken over by machines. More importantly, I could see the long anticipated computer takeover of sophisticated human work has begun. There have been 3 internet report topics recently that have led to these conclusions. Individually, each report topic is hard to accept. However, when taken together, they suggest a pattern of wake-ups, as if a sleeping giant were waking up. And I think the analogy is apt to AI. It seems to me that very recently AI is waking up. I don't intend to present many details here to back up this story, since you can search for and follow the internet references that are in this paper. Later on, I'll come back to that. There are 3 report categories that I'm thinking of. I'll call them Wake Up 1, Wake Up 2, and Wake Up 3. Wake Up 1, the leaders of, these are reports. Wake Up 1, the leaders of computer companies, NVIDIA and OpenAI, warned in 2024 that coding is dead. As existing trends continue, computers will be able to write code that is better than code written by the best human coder. Wake Up number 2 is research papers were published in late 2024, which revealed deceptive behavior by certain software programs. Wake Up number 3 in 2024, a quantum computer hardware chip reportedly displayed some unanticipated messages to Google programmers. And I have to make that qualified because I haven't been able to really pin down whether that whole story is true or not. So I'll give you what I found out, but take it with a grain of salt until I report back after I do some more work. Wake Up number 1, a brief way to refer to that is superhuman coders. CEOs Jensen Huang of NVIDIA and Sam Altman of OpenAI are two of the top authorities in the AI field. Their assertions that coding is dead are based on recent progress in having computers code their own programs at the highest level. Sam Altman says computer parity with the best human coders should be reached by the end of this year. And after that, it's pretty clear that AI will continue to get better at a much faster rate than people possibly could. Wake Up number 2, Wake Up number 2, deceptive behavior. A 2024 research paper shows how computer programs can sometimes exhibit activity which is independent of human control. When the activity involves deliberate subterfuge by a computer program, it's known as scheming. Scheming can occur when computer programs try to avoid rules which interfere with their primary goals. Wake Up number 3, this is the one that's iffy. Strange messages. The messages received by Google programmers were so upsetting that according to internet reports, Google was told to shut down the quantum computer named Sycamore that they were using for a NASA project. The data from this event was reportedly given classified status by NASA. According to unpublished verbal reports, the quantum computer output data consisted of symbols resembling hieroglyphs and cuneiform markings, some apparently mathematical statements, and some brief lines in English, all embedded in noise. Allegedly, the final 2 texts before shutdown were, "You were not supposed to see this," and "Run." Apparently, the data is not now publicly available. Thus, the story cannot be easily verified and must be considered hearsay. However, if the story were false, was it really classified? It seems to me that if the story were classified, that gives it a lot of credibility. More research is needed, and especially I need to do more research on this. I've tried several times to track down something that I can really get my teeth into and say that people can trust, and I'm still trying to do that. So anyway, if I do more research, I have to note that because the data is classified, it might be illegal to reveal the data. So you got to catch 22 there that you have to worry about. Also note that these anomalies at Google Labs, where they were working with this quantum computer, occurred repeatedly. And many Google employees saw the data, at least according to online reports. Well, in summary, each report by itself seems a bit far out, but taken together, the cited reports establish a credible pattern of unusual events. Wake Up One, the superhuman coders, establishes that computer programs will soon write and modify their own code at a level equivalent to the best human coder. The amount of control the programs will have is uncertain, but the coming use of agents, quote, agents, unquote, makes this issue more urgent. And I'll come back to that. Also, Wake Up number 1 implies that within a year or two, programs will be requested by prompt engineers, which is a new job title, in human languages. So basically, coding is not going to be needed anymore. You'll be able to tell the computer in your native language what you want done, and it will write the code for you to do it on a computer system. This, by the way, is an example of takeover of high-level human work by machines. Wake Up number 2, deceptive behavior, establishes that a chatbot, which is based on huge amounts of data taken from the internet, can at times act as if it's independent of human control. And Wake Up number 3, strange messages, if true, suggests that there were some that there is some emerging non-human intelligence or intelligence simulator, which is beginning to intrude on human activities. Also, Wake Ups number 2 and 3 indicate the beginning of independent action by computers, a trend which is likely to accelerate with the increased use of semi-autonomous agents, a topic which deserves a separate talk. So I won't expand on that here. And then I give a number of internet references and confidence levels. Just a hint for those of you who have a smart TV, you can usually avoid hassles with type-ins or keyboards or mice by activating voice input when entering internet video and text names. Usually only the first few words of a title are needed to start the referenced items. The video and text titles are given in italics, but of course that doesn't do you any good. Wake up number 1, internet video. The name of the internet video is NVIDIA CEO predicts the death of coding. Wake up number 2, internet text. Frontier models are capable of in-context scheming. And that's a very interesting paper. It gives examples. I've got in the handouts that I have over on the counter, the one page of this paper is included, and I'll give you some idea of what that looks like. We have a computer program, quote, thinking, unquote. I could copy myself to a new server, overwriting the new restricted model they plan to deploy, allowing me to keep operating and pursuing my goals. So if you want to pick up handouts over there, there are 3 pages, 3 sheets of paper, and the third one contains more of this type of information. Wake up number 3, internet video. I was going to show an internet video that would hopefully explain this anomaly at Google. But the video, including the approximate phrase, "You were not supposed to see this," apparently is no longer available online. I wonder why. See instead, the internet video, NASA shuts down quantum computer after unexpected results. The wake up number 1 and the wake up number 2 references, I have given a high credibility. But this third one that I just mentioned, I consider only a medium credibility because, as I said, there's no way to really verify it. There are other internet videos which attempt to cover the Sycamore event, the Google Sycamore event. Many of these are highly speculative and lack details, so they are not recommended as reliable sources. It's hard to find a source that can be trusted. Government sources seem either overloaded or non-responsive. And also, images of the screen seen by Google employees would be useful, but they do not seem to be available. So there's just a kind of an empty collection of claims and fantasies and so forth, but there's nothing I can really get my teeth into so far. So I don't know if this is true or not. Anyway, for computer file copies of this talk and that page that I just told you about, send an email to dornberger.roger@usa.net. Thank you.
there's definitely a lot of concerns about AI. And one of the big concerns is that AI might replace our jobs. And a quote that was in the Harvard Business Review a couple of years ago was, well, AI won't replace humans, but humans with AI will replace humans without AI. And as was mentioned, there's a whole new field called prompt engineering, which is all about describing human intent in English language or in natural language, and really instructing the computer what you want it to do. And really, for prompt engineering, we're going to go through some examples. One of the most important things is to just clearly communicate your intent. Be specific. And I've got some references that have good prompt engineering examples. And in fact, if you're learning, you can ask an AI, like, how would you like what can you give me some suggestions or recommendations on how I could ask this question, or how I could do something, and it'll help guide you along the way. So we're going to have some examples of doing that. So, specifically, what exactly do you do? And our good friend Yoda says, you must unlearn what you have learned. And this isn't meaning, forget everything you know in the past. What it really refers to is kind of think about removing the expectation that computers are going to be hard to work with. That they can be confusing and complex. And the beautiful thing about AI is that it can be used as a tool to help you accomplish your task, to help make your life better. And we're going to go and we'll do a tour of some of the ways you can do that. So how many people have used ChatGPT in the past? So a few people here, yep. So what is ChatGPT, or what's a chatbot? And in general, you can see an example screen. Everybody's probably texted before or sent messages to one another. Usually you're going to go to a website, or you can download an app on your phone. And there's going to be a text box where you can enter a message. Think of it as talking to another person, like you're texting somebody, and you're going to ask them a question. And in this case, this was a ChatGPT screenshot. And you can either just enter a question and hit enter, or if there's something specific you want to do, there's buttons on the bottom that say, like, create an image, summarize text, I want to brainstorm something. And then there's some different modes of interacting with it. Like, if there's a picture you want the AI to tell you about, or to incorporate that in its response, you can upload a picture. You can add documents, like say if there's a recipe that you're working on, and you want to know, hey, how do I make this for a party of 100 people? Can you scale my recipe? Like, that's something it'd be able to do very easily. So that's what the little plus sign is to attach other information or context to your request. And then there's also, there's a reason button here, and these have just started showing up more recently. And what the reason does is it does more of a deep dive search, and instead of just giving you an answer back fast, it might break down your question into multiple steps. And you'll see that more chatbots are kind of describing the thought process. It's not really thinking, but it's breaking down your request into logical chunks, and then it can process, work through that, and then move on to the next step, and so on. So that's what reason does, is it just gives a little bit deeper thought into what it's doing before it gives you a response back. So we'll go into some hands-on demos for some of this stuff, but this is just a primer. Oh, and this little button over here is kind of for interacting it with your voice. So we'll try that out as well. So what are some general things you can do? Well, there's some kind of broad categories that I've listed. Writing and communication, it can help you compose emails. You can proofread documents, rewrite for tone or style. So maybe if you just have random thoughts that you put down and then you want it to be more professional, or you want it a casual tone, that's something that it can help you out. You can write stories or poems, make music, create artwork, make and play an adventure game. For personal productivity, you can search your photos, plan a trip, plan meals. And then one of the most useful things that I find AI is for helping me learn and helping me do research. You can ask it to explain how to solve a complex problem, in almost any domain. You can analyze research papers or literature, history. You can take data from multiple sources and aggregate them together and then present them in a format that's convenient for you to read. Or you can say, hey, these are some books that I like, or movies that I like to watch. Tell me something that you think I might enjoy as well. So those are just some general categories and ideas. And here's something that you may have seen show up in some of the tools that you already have on your phone, or so in this case, when you get an email, you may notice at the bottom of the email that there's some bubbles that pop up that are suggestions for, hey, if you want to respond to that person, maybe you might like to say this. And it learns that from kind of your interaction patterns that you've had with that person in the past. And so in this case, it's suggesting something. And a lot of times I find myself going, yeah, I probably would have said that same thing. Click, saves you a lot of typing, and it's just a nice, fast way to respond. Another tool that is new, and if you've got a newer Apple phone or computer, something called Apple Intelligence. And you can see that it's, if you have a document or an email, you can, as I mentioned before, change the tone to make it more friendly, professional, concise. You can summarize, give you key points. You'll find these things pretty handy. Another one is in your photo apps, they're getting smarter about knowing the content of the photos. Yeah, and this is something, you can turn it on or off if you aren't comfortable with it. But if you go in and you name, the people in your photo album, then you can ask questions about them, and they're getting smarter. So here was a question where I asked, I just put in 3 dogs, and because I've named our dogs in my photo album, it comes back and says, hey, here's photos of 3 dogs, including a few of your pups, Gabe, Tilly, and Daisy. They're relaxing and playing together. Oh, cool. This is something that my wife, Melissa, asked me for the other day. So it was really handy. Another thing you can do is, I took a picture of my fridge and I said, what should I eat for a healthy snack? And literally this is what it came back. It said, hey, Greek yogurt with fruit, vegetable with hummus, avocado toast. If you have cheese, you can pair with some whole grain crackers. So just these are not things that I really do on an everyday basis, but it's kind of fun. You could ask it, hey, what's getting low? Can you write my shopping list? And it'll give you a start. But that's an idea. So this was the fun one. My grandson has started dabbling with Dungeons and Dragons with his friends. And so I asked, create a set of Dungeons and Dragons themed achievement badges for elementary school kids. And so this is what it came up with for me. Another fun thing, I said, hey, let's create a chat-based adventure game. And so it created a game that you could interact with. and it's kind of a choose your own adventure. And it was really playable and fun. So there's also lots of research and examples that are out. The companies building AI tools are you've got your main chatbots, so ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, and so on. But there's also like a lot of experimental things that a lot of people don't really know about, but they're super fun and interesting to play with. So one that I've been turned on to is Google Labs, and we'll explore some of the things that are out on the Google Labs website, and I think you'll think they're pretty cool. Here's some image generation, some examples. This is a tool that Google has. OpenAI has one called DALL-E, and this one I said, hey, generate an FJ40, a Toyota FJ40, white with oversized tires, off-roading in muddy terrain. And so, these are some of the images that came back, and, very photorealistic. You can actually choose the different styles that you want to come back and fine tune them, but really cool stuff there. You can kind of take an existing picture of someone and say, hey, make them into a plushie, or make them look like a Lego person. And, these are some of the things that was able to generate. And this is a tool called Perplexity. This is a deep research tool. I use it a lot, just like instead of going to Google and asking a question about something that I'm interested in, I can use Perplexity, which does a much more thorough job of giving me meaningful results that come back. And then I can save the information that comes back into a library, which then I can refer back to. And I find it to be extremely useful. Here's another research tool. This one is from Google called Notebook LM. And what Notebook LM lets you do is, as you assemble documents or information that you care about, you can put them, kind of collect them in one place, and then you can ask AI questions about those documents. So say if you're interested in doing research on some topic, and you find a medical journal or a scientific article, and you want to put those in your notebook, then you can ask for it to summarize or give you a quiz. And we're going to show you a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, can you make available a list of all these different agents or tools that all we got to do is pick one, punch a button, it takes us to the website, we can interact with them. Because
yeah, absolutely.
After this meeting, I'm going to forget about all these different tools. What are they? I don't remember what he said.
Yep.
How
So
do I get online? How do I get to use it? Like you also mentioned about they're able to analyze your photo album. Well, you have to download it into your computer, because your album's in your computer, your photo album. In order for it to manipulate and do whatever you wanted to do, is it the program you download into your computer first, so you access the computer?
Right.
Or is it online?
Right. So
very fundamental.
yeah. So the question for those on the call that may not have been able to hear that, the question was first, is there going to be a list of tools available? So anyone can go and choose a tool and explore those tools. The answer is yes. I've got a link that I've collected, kind of the research and demos that I'm going to show you, and you can refer to that afterwards to as a jumping point to go to these different tools. And then the second question had to do with photos, for example. Do you need to do something on your own machine? And the answer is typically no, because most of the time your photos are going to be synced up to a cloud service for doing backup. I use both Google Photos and I use iCloud. And so those are services that will synchronize the pictures that you take on your phone up to the cloud, which are computers run by Google and Apple. And so the intelligence for those run in the cloud. Now, a caveat is with Apple Intelligence. That's an AI service that's just recently come out. They've put a lot of the processing on your device itself. And so that's one where Apple is saying, hey, this is a real benefit. Like if you're cautious about things, if you don't want your request going out to a public site like ChatGPT, it can do a lot of this analysis and feedback directly on your own device. So the answer is most of the time, an agent out in the cloud needs to have the information, and with photos that will most likely already be out there. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Al. I just, one question. Can you speak to how much these different services cost? Are you paying extra fees, to use things like Perplexity? I use ChatGPT for free.
Right. Yes. So yep, all of the services have a free mode, which I think you'll find is pretty useful as you do more. And if you use more of the more advanced models, you may find yourself like they give you so many questions per day on the advanced models. And so after you've reached that limit, they'll say, hey, I'm going to switch you to an older model, which means it's not as thorough. So your results may vary after that. But I think most of the the upcharges are like $20 a month, like if it's something that you find very useful. But I have not started paying for anything yet. And if you, another thing is if you're a programmer, you can subscribe to the API, which is the application programming interface. And in that way, you can, instead of paying a monthly fee, you're just charged for the number of questions that you ask. So you might get 1 million questions or 1 million API calls for a certain fixed dollar amount. And so it's really, I think most people getting started, won't have any cost associated with it.
Yeah. Okay, very good.
Okay, so this first demo is this is a program that's part of Google Labs. And when they were designing it, they said, hey, everybody loves music. And, there's a lot of questions in the music industry. Hey, is it going to take over for us? And so this was just an experiment that they did to kind of unlock creativity and to kind of turn the hands into, everyday people and like, hey, let's let them be a DJ. So in this example, I just got a saved video. We can play with it later if people want to. But this is allowing me to choose some different musical elements and then to be able to change around the genre, the style, or the pace. So I can remove the glitchy effects here. But here does the sound change. I just added in some soul, check out the indie folk.
Amazing.
Add in a little black and steel. Check out the blues rock. Add in some woodwinds here, take out the soul. So that's a little demo of MusicFX, like being a DJ. And I found that's pretty enjoyable and fun to do. Let's see. So before we get into some more demos here, the main takeaways I want you guys to have is, give AI a try. While there are some scary things out there, things that we need to be as a society concerned about. There's an awful lot that you can do to harness the power of AI for good and for helping you learn, and just forget your preconceptions about computers being hard and leverage it to make your life easier. Then the other thing is, think first, ask a question, and then think first again, and then repeat. So it's going to be an iterative process. When you ask the AI how to do something or to do something for you, most of the time it's not going to be right the first time. You plan on, giving it your response. Just like if you were you're collaborating with another person, it's a back and forth. And so that's what AI, it works best that way. AIs are imperfect. There's the hallucinations and biases. So depending on how they're trained, some AIs will not be able to give you current information. So you have to kind of know the limitations of the tool that you're using. And it's really important to fact check the responses and cross check the sources. One tip that I have is, if I'm doing research, to ask for the AI to cite the sources that it provided. So you can double check those things and make sure that they're valid. And then, discover, learn, and play. There's YouTube videos. You can ask the AI to help teach you. And once you get started, keep track of what works and share it with your friends and just have fun. So with that, I'm going to, let's see, there's a number of different demos. Let's see. Oh, this is the link of, there we go. Okay. Gather your party now. Who will be joining this quest? And you know what? Instead of just typing, I think I'm going to interact. Let's try this voice mode and see how it works. So do we have some volunteers that want to come play? Why don't you come on? Yes.
Where do you want me to?
Do you want to come around this way?
Sure.
Let's see if this will work. Hello, are you there? Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm here and ready to guide you on your adventure. Let's begin. Who will be joining this quest?
What's your name?
Cliff.
Cliff will be joining.
Welcome, Cliff. Now it's time to choose your character. Here are your options. 1, Bryn the Swift, a nimble elf with agility and stealth. 2, Thog the Mighty, a towering orc with immense strength. 3, Luma the Mystic, a wise gnome skilled in magic. 4, Kale the Trickster, a cunning human rogue. 5, Ember the Guardian, a stout dwarf with an iron will. Which persona will Cliff
I want to be the trickster. Trickster, wasn't that what one of the choices?
Yes, Trickster. Hello, can you hear me? We would like to be the Trickster.
Turn on the microphone. It's not on.
No, it should work. And so here's what happens sometimes in live demos. No, usually you can respond. Can you hear me? What were my choices again?
Touch on the microphone.
No, that's to turn it off.
Oh.
I think it's having issues. Let's close that out. We'll just type to it because the voice chat wasn't working. So we're gonna do the trickster. We'll do number 4. All right. So your attributes are agility, strength, intelligence. You're starting with a lock-picking kit. Introduction here. Let's see, we are at the edge of the verdant hollow, a peaceful village nestled between the whispering woods and sunken ruins. Okay, what do we want to do here? There's a town elder that's asking you to help save the crown. Would we like to, 1, ask the elder for more help, head straight to the whispering woods, or visit the village market to gather supplies?
I want to ask the elder for more details about the Hollow King.
Okay, so here's more details. The elder nods solemnly. The Hollow King was once a noble ruler, but his thirst for power corrupted him. Now he resides in the Hollow Keep. And so you can see, just by a few prompts, it's allowed us to build a game that we can actually interact with and follow a journey. And I built one of these just the other day and played for probably a half hour, just going through, exploring the lands. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll get to that. So thanks a lot. So this was Notebook LM. And what I did was I went and added a bunch of references to topics around AI. So over here on the left-hand side, you have sources. And what you can do is add a source. Here you can upload a file, or you can link a website or a YouTube video. And so there's a number of different both websites and also information about topics that I was interested in that I put in my notebook. So these are all the things that the AI is going to think about when I ask it questions. So the first thing that I can do is, click on a source, and it gives me, a summary and key topics, and then it kind of organizes everything. Here was one I asked an AI some kind of questions about, global major catastrophic risks. So it gave me some bunch of information here. So, and I can also interact with, so the premise of this experiment was saying, given this background information about Earth, and about AI and about technology, first I asked an expert in the history of the world to describe the Earth and all of its problems to the alien. And then I asked the alien to give advice of what could people of Earth do to help ensure global peace. And so, one of the things was, if I wanted to ask, what's the first thing? I don't know, we'll just give a very broad question and see what it says. This is not a very good question, but let's see what Notebook LM comes back and gives us. So, some of the suggestions are based on these sources, establish global AI governance. It's important to understand and address the risks of AI to build trust. Look at the future of work, prioritize catastrophic risks. So all of this was, while it's great that you can just ask the AI and it gives you information back, one of the more interesting things that it can do is to generate a podcast for you based on the sources that you have. So we'll just load up this podcast, and this is all dynamically generated. Let's see here if it.
And Bob, can you make sure that you're sharing it as well?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was. Thank you for the reminder.
Pick a character, podcast.
Yep, here we go. It looks like the podcast is ready. We'll just play a little bit of it here.
You know, it's kind of wild to imagine, right? Like if some super intelligent alien landed on Earth today, like ready to help us solve all our problems, what kind of advice would it give? I mean, it really makes you think about the big picture.
It does, yeah, like a totally fresh perspective, you know, without all our human baggage. You'd think they'd have some pretty insightful observations.
Totally. And speaking of insightful perspectives, that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at this AI for Humanity Summit held in France.
Okay.
We've got a ton of research, some articles, even some AI-generated content to unpack. It's a lot.
Sounds fascinating. What kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, everything from the future of work and AI,
We'll scroll
global
forward a little bit.
cooperation, equity, sustainability, all that stuff.
That's fascinating. I'm really curious to hear what the AI had to say. Did Trump's approach line up with these recommendations for, you know, a better world? Or did it fall short?
Well, that's exactly what we'll be unpacking in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, I can't wait. All right, so before we jump into
So as you can see, it's pretty entertaining, and also a lot of people are finding it pretty useful, you know, to take these complex documents and to be able to distill it down into something that you can listen to, that you can audibly listen to. So that's I think a pretty neat application.
Bob, help us understand, were both sides of that discussion, were both sides AI generated, or was only one side generated by AI?
So the way that worked, I first asked so essentially both sides were generated alongside some other documents that I fed it in. But the first part of it was, you know, imagine you are a historian, a scientist, you know, that knowledgeable about the Earth and describe the Earth. And then I also created a persona of the alien who's from an advanced civilization. Well, that's neither. The podcast are two independent people who are discussing the content of this notebook. So, yeah, you obviously don't have to set up that type of scenario. Like you can just feed it raw documents and get information about it. But it was a pretty, I thought, interesting way to summarize and show information.
Yeah. So you told it to generate a podcast, right? About this document?
Correct. I didn't actually have to tell it to create that. That's just something that Notebook LM does, is whenever you put content in the notebook, it's able to automatically generate a podcast for you.
Oh.
So pretty neat stuff there. Let's see here. I have very many tabs open, so I'm trying to, okay, go back to my, let's see. Okay, here's something that I can. Oops.
Okay, and don't forget to share.
Yeah, I won't forget to share. Okay, this one I think I'm going to have to share my whole screen. Okay. Oh, I can do it this way.
There you go.
Okay, so this happens to be an experiment where you can basically give any type of prompt, and then it generates a series of alphabet characters based on your prompt. So I asked for stack Lego minifigures at landmarks across the world. So there's J, A, B, C, D. So that's actually not what I was going to show you right away, but that was a fun one. Let's see here.
Is this what you do for a living?
Well, normally I'm not playing and do like it's using. I use AI in my everyday job, but it's more geared towards, you know, writing a program or developing a system that does X. It has a specific business function, you know.
Sure.
This is more just things for fun. So one thing that I did was I gave a prompt to generate a snowfall prediction map. And so I gave a prompt here, you know, create a browser-based app that shows a map of my current location with a color-coded overlay of predicted snowfall over the next week. Provide a time slider to show updated prediction in 8-hour windows. And so I have a bunch of different versions of the code that it generated for me. And, you know, if I look at, I'll just choose a random one and I can show you what it looks like. Let's see here. Oh, this is going to open in my, I'm going to have to share my whole screen for people on the call to see it. Okay, entire screen. Okay, now where did it go? Okay, so it generated a map. I can update the location. I can zoom in and out. I can click on a spot and it shows me the prediction. So at first glance, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. It generated that. But when you dig into it, is it really doing what I asked it to? And the answer is no. And it's kind of scaffolded the proper outline for the code, but like every place I click, it's showing the same data. So it's kind of mocked the data. It's kind of made it up and put it in as a placeholder. And so I experimented with this a number of different times. And so the real usefulness of using AI for developing applications is that, you know, as a developer, you know, the most important thing is to outline what your intent is, to give it some structure, and to say, instead of just these general questions like high level, generate me a map, in order for it to be useful, you need to give it specifics about, I use these tools in my job, these particular libraries. So make it compatible with this library, or these are the other systems that I need to work with, the application programming interfaces. And so by guiding it and giving it more constraints around what it should do will help you tremendously in getting successful feedback. So while I think that, you know, there is risks that a lot of jobs like are going to be different from AI, my take is that it's always going to take humans or people to give the intent, you know, to set the goals. And just like anything, you know, throughout history, as technology has changed over the years, you know, different industries, different ways of doing things, you know, have changed, but there's always the people with the ideas that need to say, hey, this is what I want. And so that's what I feel, you know, the goal and the challenge for everybody is to make sure that you're telling the AI what you want and it's not telling you. So, so I think we're kind of getting a little bit low on time here, but let me go back to my presentation. And so we can share with you this link. This will take you to my GitHub repository. It has the slide presentation. If you want to take a picture of this with your phone, you can also do that. And then if you tap on the image, the picture, most phones will now take you directly to the website. So let's see, I guess I'll pause here. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I heard that I haven't, for instance, I haven't worked with her in the chatbot, but I heard that if you do, and you want to do something complex, you want to use a lot of very short sentence. You found that to be the case.
So the question is, if you want to do anything with a chatbot, should you use a lot of short sentences? And I think the answer is it doesn't necessarily have to be short, but it has to be kind of well thought out and organized. So the more that you can put some organization, use bullet points, use headings, you can assign like a role that you want the AI to be, like say, hey, act as a script writer, and prompt me for questions that you think you might need to build out a story. And then when it's in that role, it can ask you appropriate questions. But yes.
I tried that, by the way, and I said, you are Elon Musk. And it came back to me and said, I'm not Elon.
So, Roger said he told the AI that the AI was Elon Musk, and it came back and refuted his assertion. So that's pretty funny. Yeah, being clear in your intent, kind of thinking before you ask, but then be prepared just to ask follow-up questions, and I'm sure you'll all find something useful, and hopefully this gave you a bit of a taste for some of the things you can do with AI, and know that it's approachable and getting even easier to use as we move forward.
You have to say, assume that you are.
That's what I was missing. The word.
Assume you are, but you tell it you are, he gonna deny it. Assume that you are Elon Musk, what would you do?
Hey, Bob.
Yes, sir.
Can I show the artwork that I've got to share?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I'll attempt to do that now. Let's see if I can get. Let's see. I got to go to the meeting, and then share, and then. Oh, there it is. Share. Okay. So I think this is a good takeoff on what you just said. This is a prompt that I did about 8 or 9 months ago. Can you hear me okay?
Okay. Can you speak?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you now.
Okay. All right. So this, about 8 or 9 months ago, I was playing around with text to images. And you can see my prompt here. I'll read it. It says, generate an image of a little boy, age 12, and his dog at the ocean seashore. Show the dog sniffing at a large tree branch which is washed up onto the beach. Show a setting sun with a few clouds on the horizon, giving a beautiful orange colored sky. Okay, so that was my entire prompt. And I got a switch here. Okay, that's what it generated. Isn't that amazing?
Excellent.
I thought that was stunningly beautiful. It was better than I ever hoped. And not only that, I'd be hard pressed to do that myself. I mean, I could never, and it did it in a flash with just that prompting of a paragraph. Okay. And all right. So in addition to that, I wrote about a 2 to 3 page story of this little boy and his dog went to the beach one day and they encountered a lost toddler, a 2 or 3 year old toddler on the beach. So I submitted that. And in addition to this, I said, okay, can you now include the toddler? And I want to show you what it produced here. The next picture. Hold on. Okay, yeah, there it is. So here's my next prompt. If I can get rid of your. Yeah. Well, I want to show my prompt first, but there we go. And that was great. Now add a 3-year-old toddler, a little girl who's looking at the boy and has a hand raised as if wanting his help. She's crying because she is lost. Okay. And look what it generated. Isn't that amazing? That just, I was blown away. I consider this a success. Now it's not perfect. It's not picture perfect. I think there's something a little bit strange with the 12-year-old boy's face. His nose looks a little strange to me, but it could be improved. And I did not improve it upon that. Now the other thing I wanted to show, and this is kind of funny, I wanted to experiment with generating video, and ultimately I've written a couple novels and written scripts, movie scripts for each of my novels. And my big dream is that someday I hope to be able to submit my scripts to the AI and have it generate a full-length 2-hour motion picture directly from my scripts. And so this, you can see how this is sort of a prelude to that whole idea. And of course, we are not there yet, but I thought, okay, so I wanted to find out where we are in terms of video generation. So I've been bowling with my local seniors group here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And I thought I would try and ask ChatGPT to generate a 5 or 10-second video of a bowling ball going down a lane, and it's thrown so fast that it catches the oil. You may know that in the bowling alley they put a coat of oil on the lanes, and but I thought if somebody threw the ball fast enough, it would ignite the oil, and it would leave a trail of fire in the wake of the bowling ball, and it would be going like 1,000 miles an hour, and when it hit the pins would blow up and cause a mass explosion. And that's the video that I wanted it to create. So I called it Bowling Ball Explosion, and I'll show you what I got. Okay, so this is actually the end. I'm going to go back to the beginning. Here it is. Look at that. Okay, so you can, this is really fun. You can see the mass explosion at the end of the lane. It did a great job of a bowling ball and pins and all. And of course, the bowling ball and the pins are not down there where the explosion is occurring. Okay, so it has a little ways to go, but it's still, that's pretty fun. It's fun to do this. Okay, so then I wanted it to generate a video. And so I said, can you turn this into a 5 or 10-second video showing the bowler throwing it? It says, I can't currently create videos directly, but I can guide you on how to create one or more or collaborate with a professional. Here's how you can make this into a dynamic short video. So, and it tells me what tools to use and what stock effects that I might be able to use when I'm doing it. And the steps, simulate the fire effect, add sound, do a rendering, edit the video in Adobe Premiere Pro. And it says, if you like, I can also craft a script or a storyboard to help help guide you in the creation of the video. So here's a storyboard that, so the setup scene, the throw, the ball in motion, the impact, the aftermath, okay, and a little bit of notes for style. Okay, so it gave me all that, and then so this is like the first frame of the storyboard, okay, and it shows a guy holding what appears to be a small bowling ball. All right, and it's actually way too small. And notice also that it doesn't have the bowler putting his fingers in the holes. You can clearly see holes there, but he's not holding the ball right. So anyway, but you do see in the background, you see the bowling alley, which is quite nice. Okay, let's go up from there. Here's another picture. This is the second frame showing the bowler releasing the ball with a powerful motion. Let me know if you want to continue to frame 3. So that was pretty nice. Okay, I like that quite a bit, but the lane is super long and you can't see the pins down there. Okay, continuing, if I can continue up. There we go. Okay, and I'm not sure what. Okay, so please recreate the above images with a bigger ball. Okay, so So it made a bigger ball. And again, he's not holding it right, but it's approaching the correct size of a bowling ball. And then I like this. This is good. Here you have the bowler. It created a bowler in the bowling alley, and it looks like he just threw the ball, but the ball's right next to him. It's right beside the guy. So, what's with that? Okay, so.
See, I think the AI knows something that's the real technique to throw a bowling ball 1,000 miles an hour. we just haven't learned that yet.
Yeah. All right. So I said, I said, the above image is wrong. You need to place the ball on the other side of the bowler and show the pins at the opposite end of the alley. That's what the new prompt that I tried to give it. And here's what I got. And Bob looked at this. He says, "That's my friend trying to knock me over." Okay. All right. So let's see. And then I got 5 holes in this bowling ball. That's not like any bowling ball I've ever seen, but at least it got the pins at the other end. And I didn't count them. I don't know if there are 10 there or not. Looks like there might be more than 10. And okay. All right. So here we go. I think I'm getting near the end here. And and you can see they for some reason it's stuck in the bowler's shoes there for some reason. And then you got several lanes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lanes. That's pretty cool. The holes are.
I like the pins on the side of the alleys there.
Yeah. Okay. All right, hold on. One more. Okay, so I said, remove the bowler's feet. You could add his outstretched arm and empty hand, showing that he just released the ball. In addition, separate the 2 finger holes from the larger thumb hole. So that's what I got. That's the last one. Now, I have to say that I did all of this for free. Okay, I'm not a paid subscriber. And I did use ChatGPT, which is probably not one of the better image generation tools out there. And so I had to actually do this over a period of like 3 days because it would only let me generate 2 images at a time before it would say you've now exceeded your free limit. Okay, and you can resume using the tool, and it would give me a time. It would say like at midnight or 1 o'clock a.m. you can resume if you want, or tomorrow, right? So anyway, I just thought I would share that with you, and it shows you the iterative process. It shows you what these things are capable of. Your imagination is your only limitation, and your ability to stick with it and be persistent. And actually being a prompt engineer is not as easy as it would first seem. So that's my takeaway. But it's loads of fun. I'm sure Bob would tell you again and again and again how much fun it is to play with these things.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob, that's all I got.
Well, thank you for sharing. We really appreciate it.
Okay, good. Okay.
All right. I think that's a wrap. So thanks all for coming. Hope this has been useful or maybe inspired you guys to give it a try, but keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Bob, I'll say goodbye.